In this screencast, we're going to create a wiki with Moya. Moya is a web application platform written in Python. To install Moya, you'll need this command line here. You'll need sudo-h on Ubuntu, but on other platforms you just need pip install Moya. You can also add this, which will give us some extra dependencies which are useful for development, but non-essential. So you can run this, and it should install everything. If you're a Python developer, you'll find this very familiar. It should take a second. Okay, just about there. Alright, so now we've got Moya. If you do Moya-v, I'll show you the version. You should have at least this version. So we're going to create a wiki, and I'm going to run through it quite quickly because I'm sure you don't want to listen to me drone on for an hour. I'm going to make their projects, just somewhere to put our projects, and I'm going to use I'm going to run Moya start project, which is a command line wizard which will create a basic framework for us. It's going to ask me my name and a few other questions. Leave some of them blank. Organization, I'll put will, could be my company, organization, whatever. Will, title of your project is a simple wiki. Do you want database support? Yeah, I'm going to just accept everything, which will create a simple web application. Okay, so that's created the files for me in SimpleWiki. I'm going to go into SimpleWiki and I'm going to run this command here. This will create the database tables. Done. I'm going to run this command here, which is a one-off thing, which will create a user. I've got will, password, email address. This has created a user for us. Alright, so initialize the database and given us a user, and to run it, Moya run server. As you can see, very colourful. It's created a server. I open that link. This is the web application that we've just created. The default is sort of a simple content type application. You got pages, and there's a blog, contact, feedback, and we can sign in here. Will, password, and this spanner menu will appear if you've got admin privileges, and it's showing us we can go to the admin site, and you can see you can edit users. There's me there. So there's quite a lot of functionality in a default Moya site. Sign out. But we're going to create a wiki. We're just going to add a wiki. Control C there. All functionality in Moya is inside a library of some kind. A library contains, well, it's things like admin, content management. But we're going to create a wiki. We're going to create a library, sorry, for our wiki. With Moya start library. Much the same. It's going to ask us a few questions. There's a conf file you can use if you get tired of entering this. And leave that blank. Organization, will, title, wiki. Long name is a unique identifier for the library. Consists of organization name plus name for the library. So will.wiki is the default. I'm going to accept the default. URL, we don't have a URL for it. Namespace, new namespace is an XML thing. It separates tags. We're not going to define any tags, so we don't need namespace. I'm going to set that blank. Do I want to mount it? Yes, I'm going to mount it on /wiki. So our library will be responsible for handling all URLs under /wiki. I'm going to give it a name, accept the default of wiki. So our wiki should be running. If I do Moya run server, say our wiki should be running, but basically the start command has created just a very simple bit of functionality just to demonstrate that's working. Hello world form. What is your name? My name is Will. Hello Will. That's should So it's working, but it's a bit pointless. We're going to edit our wiki library now. I'm going to go into the local directory, which contains libraries which are local to the project. That's generally libraries you've written yourself. There's also a /external, which contains libraries which are external, which are downloaded from third parties. Inside here, we've got will.wiki, and we want to edit this directory. I'm going to go to see will.wiki, and if I do fs3, that's our boilerplate code there. It's mostly stub files and empty directories other than a readme, and init.py, and we're going to edit this with Atom. You can use any text editor. Fire up Atom. Close the wiki page. This is the same files here. I won't go into what each one's used for. The ones we're interested in at the moment is logic, and it contains a bunch of files here. This is our basic Hello World application, and it's got a number of sensibly named files which we might fill in, but for our purposes, our application is going to be so simple, we're going to put it in one file. So I'm going to delete all those. Then I'm going to create a brand new file. Now you can just create a new file here, but there's a command. If I go into logic, called Moya new, this will create a blank file for us. I'm going to call it wiki.xml, and it's created wiki.xml there. And as you can see, it's a simple XML file. It's got a number of namespaces defined. If you're not familiar with namespaces, they group tags for specific purposes. So you've got let db forms, w for widgets, HTML, etc. And a comment telling us to put in our code here. So our wiki library is going to be very simple. It's going to have two URLs, one to display a page, one to edit a page. And URLs go inside mount point. Now I'm going to do this quite quickly. I'm going to explain every single detail. Mount points contain URLs. They need a root which defines the URL that it's going to handle. It needs a value for view. I'm going to give it this view, debug view. This is a placeholder view. I'm going to give it a name, wiki page. So this is the URL that's going to display wiki page. This is a URL that's going to display a page from our wiki, and we're also going to define a URL to edit that page. I'm going to call it /slug. Oh goodness, I can't type. Slug. It's going to end with edit. I'm going to give it the same view. Give it a different name. Page edit. Okay, that's our two URLs handled there. If I run my server now, if you recall, we mounted the application on /wiki. So if we go to /wiki /something, which is the slug, the /wiki /test, that'll show us the placeholder view which we've inserted there, and this is the values which we're passing to that template. And you see the value slug, which is extracted from the URL, is available here in the template. So I've got wiki /test. If I go to wiki /moya, you'll see that the slug is updated there. So we have our two URLs. This is the wiki page URL, which will show us the wiki page, and we've also got /edit, which will edit the wiki page. Obviously it's pointing at the same view at the moment. And now we're going to define those views. So we need two views. A view begins with a view tag. Libname is the name of the view, and the convention is to begin at view dot and then give it a more sensible name. So view.wikipage will do it. View.wikipage. inside our view, we want to get the content of the wiki page, and our content needs to be stored in a model, which is in the database namespace. So db model libname equals wiki page. Models have a different convention. They don't use lowercase, they use camel case. So we've got libname wiki page there. Model must define the fields. There's various fields which can go inside a model. We're going to need a field, a string field for the slug. We don't want it to be null, and want to give it a maximum length of 100 characters. That seems sensible. Same for the title. Equals no. Equals 100, and we need text field, which contains arbitrary length text, and that's where we're going to store our content. This name is content. Null. Yes, we do want it to be null for a blank page. So there's our model. This is what will be created in the database. I think we should also give the title a default. When we create a new page, we want to give it a default title of new page. Alright, that's our model defined there. Now it's not actually in the database at the moment. I think that's right. If I do MoyaDB sync, I'm going to do this once every time you add a new model. MoyaDB sync, yep, it's synced the application there, so that has created tables in the database. Back to run the server again. Now we have a view here, view.wikipage, which is going to handle this URL route. And we're going to change the view attribute to point to that view. View.wikipage. And this will be view.wikipage.edit. So we need another view for editing the wiki page. View libname view.wikipage.edit view. Alright, so we'll implement the wiki page view first. Now we need to get the content for that wiki page or create it, and we can use the get or create tag, which is in the db namespace, db get dash or create. We need to tell it what model we want to get or create, and the model is wiki page. This is an example of an element reference, and this is also an element reference. Before the hash or the pound or the sharp, whatever you want to call it, is the name of the application or library. After the hash is the libname. If there's no application or library, then it is assumed to be the same application or library that you're currently working in. So this is saying get the model called wiki page in the same library, which is this. And we want to look up a wiki page with a particular slug. Again, this is the let namespace, which is how we pass parameters into tags. And you want the slug to be the slug that we've extracted from URL, url.slug. The variables that begin with dot, they're called root variables. They're kind of like, if you're familiar with Python or any other high-level language, it's essentially a global, but it's a global for a request. So .url is available anywhere in the code or template, and it'll contain the information extracted from the URL. And we want to store that, so we want to store it in a value called wiki page. DST stands for destination. Make the window a bit bigger here. Alright. Okay. So we've got a view here which is going to display a wiki page, and we need to render it in a template. So I'm going to assign the template attribute. We're going to call it wiki page HTML, and we're going to create our template here. It's going inside this directory, inside templates, and there's a directory which is named the same as the library, so will.wiki, will.wiki. There's a good reason for that. I'll cover that in another screencast. But just take my word for it, you need to put it inside there. So I need to name it wiki page HTML, and we need another template for editing the wiki page. Wiki page edit HTML. And okay, so these templates, you don't have to write everything again from scratch. You know, in any given page, there's a lot of content which you don't want to do multiple times. There's lots of CSS. There's a basic markup, and the start library, the start project command has created this basic framework for us, which we probably want to make use of. So we don't have to do it from scratch, and we're going to do that by extending this template from /base.html, which is already there for us, and we're going to create a block. A block is a section of our template that we want to override, and inside that base template is a block called body, and we're going to begin it like this. End block. Inside the block we need a header, h1, and we're going to take a value from the wiki page model, which is called wiki page.title. So this will render the title inside the h1 tag. This should all be very familiar if you've done any work with templates, particularly Django. And we need the content here. We're going to call it wiki page.content. Alright. So this view will be called when we go to that URL, and it'll render this template with this value which you've just created. So if I go to wiki/Moya, fingers crossed this works. Oh, I'll save it. Save it and refresh, and we should see a blank page. Yes, we do. With our basic markup, you can see there's a footer here, a header, and this text comes from the model. So we've created a database object, and we've assigned the title as new page, and that's what it's rendering there. So that's displaying a page. Next we need to edit that page, because the wiki wouldn't be much use if we couldn't edit the page. So we're going to define this view here, and we're going to copy this line here because we need to work with the same database object. And to edit this object, we will need a form. You define forms in much the same way as database models. Forms has a lib name, form wiki page.edit, and give it a legend, page, style. There's a number of different styles. I'm going to use the horizontal style. By default, Moya uses Twitter Bootstrap. You don't have to use Twitter Bootstrap, but it gives you a head start, so you can at least display something there. Inside the forms tag, we need to define the fields. We're going to need an input for the title, label, also title. It's required, so required equals yes. We are going to need a text area, name, content, label equals page, content. That doesn't need to be required. You might want to create a blank page, and we're going to need a submit button. Submit dash button, text equals update. That's our form there. Now inside the edit view we need to get that form with the forms get tag. The form is called form.wikipage.edit, and we need to give it some initial data which comes from our wiki page model, and we use the source attribute src, source wiki page. This will fill in the fields with the slug and content, etc. And I'm going to store that in a value called form. Now we're going to look at our wiki page edit template, which we'll need to set here. Template wiki page edit HTML. Wiki page edit. This is going to be very similar to our wiki page, at least it's going to start that way. So we're going to extend base.html, TML. That is also going to have block body. And I guess we'll also need a header. This change the header slightly if you want to begin it with edit. So we're going to have, I'll just call it edit page. H1. Now this template is different, and we've got a new value here called form, and forms know how to render themselves essentially, so we can use the render template tag, render form, and that should be it. That should be enough to render the form. Let's go back to the browser. So if I go to wiki page Moya /edit, if I've done everything correctly, should get a form. Nope. This is an error. This would be a good point to show the error page off, which is it's quite nice, a lot of information there. And inside the terminal, see there's an error here, opening and ending tag mismatch in wiki.xml. And the problem is, oh, that's definitely forms form. That should be close. Bonus points if you spotted that. I'm going to refresh that page. Let's see if we get a form now. Yep, there's a form. Okay, so we can display the form. It's pulled in initial values. Now we want to actually handle the form once it's been submitted. And as you can see, our view doesn't do that yet. To handle the form, we need to use the forms validate tag. That is a source attribute, which is the object, the form that we want to validate, so which is called form. And inside forms validate is the code which runs when the form validates successfully. So if there's no error messages, then the code inside here will run, and if it does run correctly, we want to apply the form. This takes the source again, so from form. It takes the form as the source, and the destination, DST, is the database object called wiki page. Wiki page. So that will take the values from the form and apply them to wiki page. And once it's applied, the form be a good time to redirect, which is redirect back to the wiki page. So I used the redirect tag, and this takes an attribute called name, which is the name of the URL you want to redirect to. And it's just wiki page. Name wiki page. And we need to give it the missing parts of the root. So we need a value called slug. So we're going to let slug equal wikipage.slug. So if that works, let's have a look. That should be enough. Wikipage edit. Oh, there's another error. Namespace prefix form validate. It's forms, plural. Save. Refresh. Failed again. Namespace from validate. Oh, I keep doing that. Forms validate. Again. Refresh. Okay, that seems to have worked. Yes. Alright, so I'm going to edit some page. Content, first page. This is our first page in will.wiki. If I update that, it should update and redirect. Yes, it's redirected back to wiki/Moya. So it's pretty close. Obviously some functionality are missing. First of all, there's no easy way to get from this page to the edit page. We need a button. Probably put it there in the title. If I go to wiki page, let's see. We're going to need a link, href. Come back to that. Edit. We can use the URL template tag. URL. Wiki page edit. This is the name attribute here. It's referencing it here, and that URL rather requires a value for slug. So we have URL wiki page edit with slug equals wiki page.slug. Save that. Now if I refresh here, I should hopefully get a link in the title. Yeah, it's pretty ugly, but yeah, it'll work. Wiki page edit. Something's amiss there. Let's see what the problem is. I haven't terminated the tag there. See that? Alright, again, try that again. Refresh. Okay, that link. Yep, that works. So we can go to our page and edit it. Second edit. Update there. Alright. There's a bit of a flaw there. The content that we're editing is just inserted as text into the markup, and there's no blank lines, and we can't do any kind of formatting because it will escape HTML. You know, for instance, if I was to put this in H1, see, it's just it's escaped it by default. So we want to change the wiki page. We want to do something different with this. Use the same value, and Moya has a markup system which will take text written in various kinds of markups and turn it into HTML. So I'm going to use the markup tag, markup wikipage.content as markdown. Markdown is one of the markups Moya supports. Save that. And if I refresh this, it'll turn the content that we've given, there you go, into HTML. And we can insert Markdown there, which has a markup system to insert different kinds of formatting in a much easier way. There we go. Alright, so now we've got Markdown in our wiki, and I think that's a good point to stop now. That demonstrates a number of basic things in Moya, and a functional wiki. I mean, it's very, very basic, but it kind of works. And this is the code for it here. You can see that's the non-boilerplate code. Actually, before I go, I might demonstrate the debugger. If I do Moya run server breakpoint, and then I open up the browser, and I go to a wiki page. I'm going to wikipage.moya. See, it's stopped in the console here, and this is a debugger. If I type help, you can see there's some help commands there, and this is the code that is running. If I do S, I can step through it. If I go to edit, you see this is a slightly more complex view. This is the edit view. This is the same code in wiki.xml. I can do W10, that will show where we are with 10 lines. And as you can see, we're here, this line. If I do .url or any value, it will show you what's in that context value. We've got app wiki slug moya, and I can S to step over each line. You can see stepped over the get or create line, and it's stored a value called wiki page, which I can show you here. That's our content in the wiki page. Got an ID of 1, slug moya, title first page. Can then step over this line, which will get the form. I can show you the form here. Oh, actually, we're stepping into this code, so it's going to step over, step over, step over. Now it's created the form in the view, and this is our form. See, it's an unbound form, which means there's no data from the post request. When it's data from the post request, it's bound, which the validate will do. If I step into validate, I've stepped over it, so it's actually validated that. Yeah, okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. There's a lot to cover, but I'm just going to start rambling at this point. So in the next screencast, I'll go into more detail, we'll add some functionality, and I hope you'll join me. Thank you very much for watching.